Hello everyone, welcome back to 2022, the start of a new year. So good to have you join us here at Voice Essentials. I can see so many of you in the live chat already. It's always, I don't know why, I always get really nervous in the lead up to the start of a new year because we do take the December, January period off from the live show, and so I'm always interested to find out who is going to be here in the new year. And of course you all front up, and it's always good to hang out. And that's exactly what we're going to be doing here every Monday, Australian Eastern Standard Time at 1 p.m. every Monday, except for those days where we have a public holiday or I'm on holiday. But for the most part, February through November, we hang out every week. And I always look forward to it. Linda, who is not only one of my private singing students, but has also over a number of years now become a good friend. I was sharing with Linda, on in our last lesson, just how keen I was to get back to the live show and start a new year afresh, which is always good to do. And so, yeah, it's good to be back. I hope you are healthy and safe wherever you are, of course. Omicron, I mean, what do we say about Omicron? It took me by surprise. I started back. This is my 4th week back teaching. So it is our first show for the year, but I start back and prioritize my private singing students and really get us all back, on track with our learning. And so this is my start of my 4th week back, and all of my students currently are back online. I'm not having any students into the studio currently. We'll reopen the studio on the 21st, Monday the 21st of February, in a couple of weeks, but I could not have envisaged that I would be starting 2022 online again with everyone, but here we are. So I hope that you are healthy and you are doing well no matter where you are in the world. Of course, so many of you are in the Northern Hemisphere. It's still your Sunday compared to what is my current Monday. And so I hope you've had a great weekend. And I hope you had a great festive season. If you celebrate Christmas, I hope you had a great Christmas and you were able to spend that with family and friends. And I hope you were able to have some fun times over the New Year's break as well. So many things happening this year. As I told you at the end of last year, I've been preparing a new course, and with each stage in this new course's development, I get more and more excited about delivering it to you. Over the last couple of weeks, I've been editing. So in early January, I shot the videos for the coursework, the instructional videos, and then I've been slowly but surely editing those videos. Can I tell you, there is so much information. Module 2 and Module 3 have 30-minute videos, and these are jam-packed, full of information I wish I had have had when I first started singing. I think it sets you up. No, this is not just for absolute beginners. This is for people who are really wanting to enhance their learning ability with their voice. The new course, as you know, is called Dr. Dan's Singer's Starting Guide, and it's going to be good. Mark my words, it is going to be good. It is going to be worth every single penny that it will cost. Now, from the 7th till the 11th of March, I will be running an early bird special, and so a pre-launch special, and so that will be 97 Australian dollars. That is going to be more than 50% off the recommended retail, which from the 4th of April, when, fingers crossed, I launch the course and you'll have full access to it. From the 4th of April, it will be $197 Australian. But for 1 week, And I do this with all my courses, and so many of you are able to take advantage of this. For 1 week from the 7th to the 11th, I think it's actually, I say 7th to the 11th, but I think it's a little bit longer than that. Like it might be the 7th to the 13th of March. You will be able to get it for half price. So put some pennies away now, because I want you to be able to get into this course, because I know it is going to be beneficial to you. So I'll tell you a bit more about that over the coming weeks. Currently, the graphic arts work is being done. The website is being there's a lot of work being done in the preparation to delivering it for you. We are going to be having, over the coming months, the rest of the year, we'll be having special guests back on the show. And the special guest is one of the highlights of this live hangout, where we have some of the world's leading, and you hear me say that and you go, yeah, sure. No, we do. If you've been watching this channel for any length of time, we literally do have some of the world's best singing teachers and singing voice professionals come on to this show, and free of charge. They don't charge me anything, and they don't charge you anything. They bring it all onto the show, and they just give of themselves. And so we've got new guests coming up. I've got 2 guests already lined up. One of them is Philippe Hall. In fact, I'm on Philippe's show later this week. He'll be doing it. He does a live podcast / YouTube show. So I know that that's 9 a.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time on Friday, but I think it's 7 p.m. on a Thursday night in the Northern Hemisphere. But anyway, later this, I'll share a link to it into the Facebook community, so you can all go and have a listen to me rabbit on again. and then in a few weeks' time, I'm also going to be having John Henny. And John is such a highly regarded, as is Philippe. These 2 men are both so highly regarded internationally for what they do for singers in the area of instruction and development, and so we're having those 2 gentlemen come on, and we'll be having so many more people of that caliber, and more, and it's going to be a great year. So make sure you always subscribe to this channel, Voice Essentials, Dr. Dan's Voice Essentials. Subscribe, hit the white bell icon, because that's where you're able to tell YouTube, yes, I want to be notified of when the show goes live, just so you don't miss any part of it. And of course, so many of you watch this show as a replay, and the replays will always be there for you as well. Now that brings me to, so I titled today's, on the thumbnail it says New Year, new voice. And so I want to introduce you to who is going to be my very closest friend henceforth here on the show. Let me introduce you to this new friend. So here we go. This is my, now it's not turned on right now, and that's because I want to use this also as a bit of a learning thing. Let me turn it on. This is my new toy. And I really wanted to, I think I mentioned last year, I've been really wanting to up the audio game, not only here on the live channel, but also in my pre-record videos. And so currently we're listening to me through this lapel. Now, I've used the lapel for many years, simply because the lapel is great. In fact, I continue to use it in my lessons, because it enables me to get up and walk around the room and do examples, and it's, it's very versatile, it's very practical. But the audio quality is not quite up to this clever guy here. Now this is called a Shure SM7B. Let me turn it on and let me see what you think. I'm going to be really keen to see what your reaction is, your response is to the difference in the quality of the audio. So let me turn it on. So now you should be hearing me via this microphone here. And I'm really hoping that in the chat you all tell me but it's a massive difference. I'm hoping that you hear a real clarity. I'm hoping that you hear more audio breadth, and that it sounds good. Hecky Vlogs, hello Heckies. Oh, Mackenzie loves it. Linda's said wow. So this is me. I mean, can I really, actually, let's use this as a little bit of a learning curve, right? So there's a reason why and I'm so pleased to see your response, because these aren't cheap. Well, the lapel isn't cheap, but these aren't cheap either. And it is for this mic. I am only ever going to be using it for this show. I bought it for this show, and it is, as I said, it is not a cheap thing to do. Kelly's saying it's more full-bodied. Alyssa, hi Alyssa. I had a lesson with Alyssa this morning. It's so clear. Yeah, it is. And the reason for that is because your microphone, and this is an important thing, a microphone is not a microphone is not a microphone. Microphones have a whole range of different applications. And so when it comes to your performance mic, and I grabbed one over here. So this one here. This is called a Shure SM7B. Now this is a condenser supercardioid mic. Now I'm not going to give a full lesson on microphones today, but it's enough to say this is a live performance mic. You can use it for recording, but it's designed primarily to be a performance mic in relatively refined, really well-contained venues. And if I was to, in fact, I'm going to, if I unscrew this, so this is just the cage that sits over the top. This bit is just the grill. This does not do anything other than protect what's underneath it. And that is that piece of equipment here. That's called the diaphragm. And the diaphragm is what's actually picking up the signal, the acoustic signal, and transferring it into an electrical signal, which then gets passed down the mic lead, through the mic, down into the lead, into my sound desk. In this case, I'm using an Allen and Heath analog desk, and then into my computer. And this bit, as you can see, that's obviously a pretty fancy piece of componentry, electronic componentry. Now, I'll put that back on. That is that capsule. There's a capsule like that in every mic that you have. They're not all the same. Some of them are ribbon mics, ribbon capsules. Some of them have crystals in them. Very few these days, but some of them are simply I'm not a sound techie. I just know a few things about mics. The point being is that they're not the same. And most importantly, so if you look at the difference between, if I just unclip this, if you look at the size difference between that mic, the little head on that, my lapel, which is an omnidirectional microphone, so it actually picks up everything, compared to this microphone, which is, and if I can take, in fact, I won't take because it'll rub at your ears and you'll hate me. But if I was to take that off, there's a smaller section underneath it, but it's considerably bigger than that microphone tip there. If I take that, so that's I can't get close enough, but it's really little. Yeah, that capsule compared to that capsule compared to that capsule. And there's a limit to what I'm about to say, but to a certain extent, the bigger the capsule, the more information that capsule is able to capture. Now, if you're a sound techie, please don't write me nasty letters and tell me that I'm not exactly correct on that. For illustrative purposes, that's kind of what's going on here. And so that's what you can hear. That's a difference. Now, why did I want to tell you all about that other than to show off my new microphone? This one is a cardioid condenser, and so it only picks up what's very close to it. And there's a whole heap of other stuff that's going on down the signal chain to give it this sort of, fullness, if you will. Again, why am I telling you this? Because when we come to recording ourselves, and I was talking to a student about this the other day, when we come to record ourselves onto our smartphone, so there's my smartphone there. So when we come to record ourselves onto our smartphone, now I'm pretty sure, that little hole, I don't know if you can see that there, I can get the light on it, that little hole there, that is the microphone intake for the voice. So it's primarily designed for spoken voice. You're on the phone. Well, that's the one thing about this. You're on the phone and it's picking up your voice, and it's also designed to isolate. Now, these are getting better and better and better with every new release. The componentry, the AI that's in these things, the smartphones, they are getting better. But here's the thing. It's still little. It's still only able to capture a certain amount of information to then translate into an electrical signal, which you then, when you play back your recording of your singing, recognizing that singing has a broader frequency response and broader frequency spectrum than your spoken values, the mic in your phone can only capture so much. And so sometimes we listen back to that and we hear it, and it sounds raw, it sounds really thin, it sounds, and everyone, bar none, everyone goes, oh, that's really bad. Just to make my point, I'm going to switch back. So you've been listening to me on the SM7B, the big diaphragm microphone, and there's a whole heap of other things that give over to it having this full sound. Let me go back now and I'll show you what the lapel sounds like. And once again, you're going to hear the difference, thinking that we could then go even smaller down to a microphone inlet, the size of the diaphragm. I don't even know what the technology is that they're capturing sound within the phone, but nonetheless, you get my point, right? It's small. So let me go back. And so now I'm back to the lapel. And so you can hear there's a real difference. Now, what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to sing a 5-note scale. Nothing fancy, really raw. There's no effects. In fact, the EQ that I have set on the sound desk is exactly the same on both channels. The lapel's sitting on one channel. The SM7B is sitting on another. They are the same channel. This is going to be a dry vocal. And have a listen to the difference in what you hear. And I'll get you to write into the comments again. What do you hear in the overall breadth of sound? Here we go. Oh, the lapel first, just so you know. Yeah. So that's the lapel. Here's the SM7B. Yeah. Now throw into the comments, let me know what sort of difference you heard. How would you judge the difference? Remembering that, they are completely different mics. It's not just the size of the diaphragm, it's also the type of capsule they are. This is a cardioid, so it's a very focused capture point compared to the omnidirectional, which is a very everything capture point. The new mic is much, so Mackenzie's saying the new mic is much better when it comes to singing. Yeah, and it would be. In fact, Michael Jackson used to use this very same, not this mic, but this very same version of microphone, the SM7B. He used it to record a lot of his, I forget which album he recorded on. Anyway, you could look that up on Google. And so yes, this is often used in recording for singing. Mackenzie's saying it just sounds so good. Linda is saying, how to describe mellow tone compared to bright tone. Yeah, so here's the thing with my voice. You will hear a real distinct difference because my voice acoustically can come off really, we've talked about this many times, can come off really pingy and bright and almost a bit too cutting. Well, this captures the fuller aspect of my sound and delivers a fuller picture. And so you will hear a depth of tone in my voice from this when we compare it to the lapel. Thomas is saying the lapel is better. Well, that's interesting. So what we're hearing there, Thomas, is perhaps a what we call a preference, yeah? And then we've also got to think about the speakers that you are listening to it through. And so maybe the lapel for some will sound better because of the way the information's being delivered via your speaker system. And Linda is saying, Jake has said that it's much clearer, and Linda has said it sounds more of your voice comes through. Yeah, because there's more capsule. The capsule's bigger, so it can capture more information and do more with the sound. Anyway, I thought that would be just a clever thing to do for us to start the year, and it also gave me. I'm really happy with this, and I'm really hoping that it helps you at your end, Thomas. If you're enjoying the lapel, if you have individual singing lessons with me, Thomas, you'll get to hear the lapel because I'm still using it. But in the show going forward, all things being equal, this is going to be the pick. I've just seen Kelly. The lapel creates the impression of being brighter but much more dynamic with the 7B. True. Yeah, I mean, can I just point out, and Linda's just pointed this out in the chat, they're both good. I personally think this is much better, but it's not as if the lapel was bad. Do you know what I even tried? I'll show you. I wondered what it would sound like if I had both of them on. And so this is I've now got both microphones on, but when I was listening back, it had like there was a phase issue, I think, between the two mics, and so it was not okay. And so I just mute the lapel, and we go with that. So anyway, they're the fun things we do. Oh, I found it fun. They're the fun things that we do here on the show, and we talk voice. We talk. If you're new to the show, we talk voice. We talk vocal technique. We talk performance. All those fun things, and yeah. So what I want to do is answer your questions, of course, and we do Q&As. Generally, it works out to every second week or so. I try to have a guest here every second week, and I try to have a Q&A where we answer your questions, and I'm looking over to the list and there's already questions in there. I try to answer your questions as much as I can every second week also. Now, here's the thing. For you to ask a question, if you're new to the show, for you to ask a question, you do have to be subscribed to the channel. We use that to filter out the trolls. So if you do want to ask a question, please put your question in the chat, and Linda, the amazing Linda, will always throw your question when appropriate into the list, and we just go through them chronologically. Now, if you want or need your question absolutely answered between now and the end of the show, and we're going to go for another 15, 20 minutes or so, then the way to get your question bumped right up to the top of the list and in the order is to ask it with a super chat. The super chat, you know, it's a way of supporting the channel. It's a way of helping pay for very expensive equipment to do the show. And we always prioritize your super chats. And super chats are always received with a great sense of thanks. So let's get into asking your questions, and we do that. We generally do it by starting off with this. Okay, so let's kick off with Mackenzie. It seems appropriate to kick off with Mackenzie's question to start with. And Mackenzie's question is, how long after vocal cord polyp removal surgery can I start singing again? Well, Mackenzie, that's an interesting question, and you've shared with us all, both in the Voice Essentials community and also here on the show, that you're about to have a vocal polyp removed. For those who don't know, a vocal polyp is generally a singular mass that will develop on the vocal fold at some point, and that's often important to determine as to the impact that it's going to have on the voice, where on the vocal fold it is sitting, and most often they are removed with surgery. Whenever we come to surgery, we can feel really nervous in the lead up to that. What I can tell you, Mackenzie, is these days, because this is sort of one of your questions a little bit later in the chat, was, you feel, well, not questions, but you're making the statement that you feel a bit nervous about that, and you're concerned that things could go really bad. And you mentioned Julie Andrews. The thing with Julie Andrews is Julie Andrews had her vocal fold surgery at a time when the knowledge around surgery, the techniques used, the equipment used was still very primitive in the scheme of what we do today. And so what I can tell you is that if Julie Andrews was to have the same surgery again today, February 2022, I venture to suggest that the outcome would have been radically different, simply because the equipment, the techniques, our knowledge about rehabilitating the voice post-surgery is radically different to what Julie Andrews underwent. And so, in one sense, Julie Andrews was a victim of her time, as opposed to just purely and simply bad surgery or what have you. Now, so in your case, I think you can go into it, all things being equal. I don't know who your surgeon is, but you should go into it with a relative sense of confidence that things are going to work out really well. You asked the question, Mackenzie, how long after the vocal cord polyp removal surgery can you start to sing again? And I'm going to stop short of giving you an exact answer, because every surgery is slightly different. There is nuance to every surgery there. It can be dependent on where the polyp is sitting, what had to be done during surgery. And so it would be wrong of me to give you an exacting account. Now, what I would want to advocate for you to be is in the hands of a speech therapist, a speech pathologist, who can help you in the weeks following surgery to bring the voice back online. Now, some surgeons like to have their patients, and again, this is going to be dependent on the surgery. So do not hear this as instructive or directive to your specific case. This is very general. Some surgeons like to have their voice users using and moving their vocal folds within 24, 48 hours of surgery. And so, but again, that depends on the surgery and the surgeon, and the methods, the techniques used as a part of the procedure. And then there are other cases where some surgeons will wait up to a week, 2 weeks, and it's derived from the surgeon. Regardless, my advice to you, my very strong advice, Mackenzie, is find yourself in the care of a speech pathologist who can guide you through that post-operative process. Now, your first port of call would be to talk to the surgeon and ask them who the speech pathologist is that they like to work in team with, so that you can get a really good team, voice care team effort going there around your vocal rehabilitation. And that all being said, I think you can expect that things are going to work out really well, and that you can come out the other end of that with a voice that is once again whole and ready to go. And we'll be all thinking of you, Mackenzie, and over the coming weeks, I know you're going to be able to share with us once you've had the surgery. And you said it's now not until Mackenzie's, I've just got a note here, Mackenzie is going to be working with a speechy. That is great, Mackenzie, because that, in my opinion, is going to give you the absolute best outcome. And we're going to be looking forward to hearing how it all goes for you in April, after you've had the surgery, because I'm sure you'll still be able to type, regardless. You don't have to talk to us here on the show. That's my job. Okay, so I hope that's helpful, Mackenzie. Kelly. I miss our Friday lessons, Kelly. I'm so looking forward to you coming back and starting again. Dr. Dan, what foods do you know of that aggravate reflux? So, Kelly, so many. And this is so driven by you individually. But I'll tell you what mine are. Actually, can I let you in on a little secret? This is the other thing I like about this microphone, is when you get in really close to it, it has that real radio feel. At least that's what I'm hoping. Otherwise, it'll just sound creepy. I had some McDonald's for lunch. I know you're thinking to yourself, but Dr. Dan, you are the picture of perfect health. We can see the complexion of your skin suggests... No. No, I am being facetious. No, I did have McDonald's. Now, the reason being is, and I would not normally have McDonald's, certainly not this early in the week, is I said to my daughter, my youngest, she starts back at school for the new year tomorrow. And I had students listed for my 9, 10 and 11 a.m. slots this morning. And I had them all, they were all full. And I did not expect that when I said to my daughter, look, if my 11 a.m. cancels, I will, because she said, can we go to McDonald's, because it's just her and I home today. If you don't have a student tomorrow at 11, can we go to McDonald's for lunch? And I, in my brilliance, said, sure. Now, this is me thinking, I know my 11 a.m. student. There is no way she's going to cancel. She will be at her lesson. It was only a couple of hours later I got the cancellation. My poor student, my poor 11 o'clock is sick. And so I had made this commitment that we had to do McDonald's. And so anyway, I had McDonald's before the show. Now, McDonald's sets me off reflux-wise like nothing else. And so I do, after every McDonald's that I ever have, and we don't have it regularly, but whenever I do, I always have some Gaviscon afterwards, because the reflux is just off the charts. So that's, for me, that's one. Spicy foods is another. carbonated drinks. So the thing about McDonald's is not only is it oily, but also and fatty, but it's also, you know, usually I'm very boring. I usually just have a Coke and as a drink, and it's carbonated and a lot of sugar, and so that's not great, and so that'll set my reflux off. Citrus for some people will set them off. There are so many different food groups. I know that ginger for some, onions for others. It's really comes down to trial and error for your body. What do you note after you've eaten a said meal? If you get some reflux, what was in that meal that you can identify as, yeah, that, you know, and then you'd want to probably try and have that meal again and see if you get the same outcome, and start to identify the things that you know are going to set you off in regards to your, what's it called? I'm just coming over here, in regards to your reflux. Okay, I feel like I'm out of whack. Why am I out of whack? I don't know. Okay, now, Jake, I hope that's helpful, Kelly. Jake Sabano, is it true that bodyweight exercises are bad for your singing voice? Look, I've got a video on this, Jake, that you might want to have a look at. And I probably should have a review of that video, because I'm not sure that I created as much clarity around this subject as I would have, but maybe I did. I can't remember. I need to go. It's one of the old ones. I need to go back. Some people have made the mistake of thinking I'm against going to the gym, I'm against sport, or I'm against... Nothing could be further from the truth. I have a gym membership. I play touch football every Tuesday night that they let us. We haven't played since before the beginning of the end of the year last year. Hopefully we start again next week. I love my sport. I'm watching the Olympics at the moment. I love my sport. I love working out, as far as I'm very much into aerobic activity, and I just really, really enjoy that kind of stuff. And as a part of that, because I have some upper back issues, I do some weight strengthening for my upper back and shoulders, so that my back doesn't flare up and cause me issues. Where we do have to be careful around the use of weight training is when we go into that sort of body building, body shaping behaviors, simply because it can create a muscle tone that does not have the dynamic capacity to release tension. And that can be quite detrimental to our vocal health, simply because the voice just can't find itself in a free environment. We need a free, dynamic, buoyant larynx in order to create efficient sound. And so I am always telling singers who are going to the gym, please be careful in what you do. Now, what I really advocate for with singers is aerobic activity, swimming. There, to my understanding, there isn't really much better than swimming that you can do, because it's a whole body activity. But things like, in fact, I've just had a new video went live last week. We talked through posture, and so we talked about Pilates, and we talked about Alexander technique, and Feldenkrais, and there's a whole heap of modalities that you can look into that are going to strengthen your body, but not lead to distressing the muscles in such a way that they cannot release tension. Jake, I hope that's helpful. Kelly's asking, is the new course good for people who have the other modules? Yes, Kelly, yes. Thank you for asking the question. Yes. This is not going to be simply a course for just absolute beginners. I have designed it so that absolute starters, people who don't know even how to create a note, will gain benefit, particularly from Module 1, but every module thereafter. And there's stuff in Module 1, even for you, Kelly, who's been doing this a little while now, there's stuff in Module 1 that you'll still find helpful. But in Modules 2, 3, 4, 5, there is so much there for singers that aren't simply starting out, the singers who are well into their journey. It will really just round out your knowledge about how the voice works. We look at vocal anatomy, like we go into depth. What are the muscles that you're using? How does this thing work? We go into voice care, and understanding more. We look at polyps, like we were just talking about for Mackenzie. There's so much in this course. It's taking me. There is so much in this course. It is taking me forever to edit the videos because they are so dense with good information. Yeah, so there you go. We're going to do one more question here for ARMJ. Actually, I'll do two more questions for ARMJ and then one for Thomas. So, Dr. Dan, how can I sing high notes a bit easily? I can hit an E4. After that, I can hit the notes, but I strain. It's puberty, I guess. Well, that would suggest to me, if you're mentioning it's puberty, I guess, then yes, puberty will often restrict your capacity to move freely over the vocal range that you experience pre-pubescence. And then it's going to take a little bit of time. And the calendar is the thing that's going to help you here, AR. Give it time to allow the voice to fill out again. It will, but don't hammer away at it while it's going through that change. It's not to say don't sing, but don't stress it. Don't strain it. Just give it time. Okay, one last question, then we're going to call it a day on our first show for the year. We'll come back and we'll do another Q&A next week. But Thomas gets the last question. Why does the music industry love tenors? I don't know, Thomas. It's a recent thing. If you go back into the 70s and 80s, it was, in fact, go back even further. Go back into the 50s and 60s. They were all baritones. The crooners, they were singing much lower, and I don't know. We just got this fascination with height. It's a cultural thing. I dare say, I don't know whether it's going to happen in your lifetime, my lifetime. There'll be a shift again, and I don't think we're only captivated by tenors. I say that as a tenor. I don't think we are only captivated by tenors. I think there is a broad range of vocal colours out there that we hear, and names escape me right now, but it's not only high voices that we're hearing. We are hearing a variety of colours, and I would encourage you to go back, delve back in if you. And Thomas, this is not the question you're asking, but if you are in search of lower voices, go back a little bit in history and have a listen to some of the lower pop voices back in the 60s and 70s and 80s, particularly around guys, and you will hear some lower sounds. Well, that gets us started for another year, which is just fantastic. Like I said, I've been so looking forward to getting back into the year with you all, and I'm excited about what the year's going to bring, and I hope you are too. Life doesn't always allow us to start a new year with a sense of excitement and enthusiasm. So I hope you have been able to start your year enthusiastically. And I hope you'll join us every Monday at 1 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time for our show, because I do just love hanging out with you all and answering your questions, engaging in the chat, and I'm very much looking forward to what we're going to do over the coming weeks and months together during 2022. But once again, make sure you hit the thumbs up button if you've enjoyed today's show. And I do very much look forward to hanging out with you all again next week when we'll do a Q&A next week. Probably for the next couple of weeks, we'll probably do Q&As, I think, just to catch up on all of your questions that you've been collecting over the December-January period. I very much look forward to seeing you again next week, when you'll always hear me finish every single show by saying, catch you later, I'm Dr. Dan, sing well.